Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polar Craft Boats, the Forward Corporation, Primal Tree Stands, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, Brenton USA Hunting Rifles, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. Welcome, 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 welcome back if you've been with us before. Welcome if you are a new listener. I appreciate you being along with us. What an interesting week it has been. Well, we made it through Christmas. Happy New Year to you, by the way. But what a weather roller coaster. Michigan's meteorologist, Mark Torregrossa, was on the show probably 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, and he said at the time, he said it's going to be a weather roller coaster, but I had no idea what he was talking about. From blizzard conditions last weekend to predicted warm spells, melting, maybe some flooding this weekend, it is indeed a weather roller coaster. And it's made it very interesting for our outdoor passions, our outdoor pursuits. I mean, great snow. First ice across much of the state. Who knows how it's going to end up, at least in the lower. We get the temperatures they're talking about. It's going to cut the ice from above and below. It's going to knock down a lot of snow. I guess we just wait and see what happens there, eh? So New Year, 2023. What does that mean? Well, it's always a time to look back on the past year, right, and look forward to the coming year. When I look back on 2022, I look back with the mixed emotions. It was a great year, a wonderful year. Had some great times. Had a lot of fun outdoors. Never did shoot a bear. Didn't shoot an Ontario bear, which is okay. I go to Ontario and, I make a choice. Am I going to shoot a bear or not? Because I will have the opportunity to shoot a bear. That's pretty much a given. This year, because my daughter's getting married at the end of the summer, I'm going to go back to Ontario for the spring hunt, which is actually about the first week in June. So didn't shoot a bear this year. Didn't shoot a deer. My goodness. How inept do you have to be to not be able to at least shoot a doe during a 3-month season? I guess that's me. I'm describing myself. I never had an adult doe in front of me the entire season, let alone an adult. And by adult, I mean 2.5-year-old buck. Wow. What a loser you are, Avery. I'll say it now so you don't have to say it. Oh, but I was out there. I tried. I had fun. So that brings us to 2023. I don't make resolutions because in my mind, resolutions are made to be broken. I set goals. So I'm going to set some goals for 2023. My goals for 2023 include shooting a bear. I will not get a Michigan bear tag this year. I know I won't. So I'll go to Ontario in the spring with Ron St. Louis of Northern Wilderness Bear Outfitters, and my goal will be to shoot a bear. We need some more bear meat in the freezer, and I have a lot of friends who love bear meat. So I'm going to go up there the first week in June with the intent of shooting a bear. I will set another goal for 2023 to shoot a Michigan whitetail. It's been a long time since I shot a Michigan whitetail. And part of it is I just got so disinterested in deer hunting for so many years that I just kind of backed away from it and didn't spend much time in the whitetail woods. But that interest has been rekindled. Obviously, the skill level has not been rekindled, but the interest has been rekindled. So for 2023, for this year, I really want to shoot a Michigan deer, and it doesn't have to be a buck. I don't care. Big old fat Michigan doe will be just fine, whether it happens in the archery season or later on in the year. I don't know. We'll see. But that's a goal. In general, one of my generic goals is just to spend more time hunting and fishing. To spend as much time on the water, on that angler quest, on Saginaw Bay. That's my home body of water. I realize we have a lot of great fisheries here in Michigan, but Saginaw Bay is in my backyard. I mean, I can literally leave my driveway and be on the angler quest in less than a half hour on Saginaw Bay. So where do you think I'm going to go? On the angler quest on Saginaw Bay and chase walleye. So my goal is to spend as much time out there as possible to explore some different water. I'm a skinny water guy. I love skinny water. If I could spend the entire summer fishing water less than 10 feet, I would do it. I love that skinny water. I love it because the fish are in there. When the fish are in there, they are there because they're aggressive and they're feeding. And when they are in there, in that skinny water, it can be so much fun. But I want to play around with a few, fine-tune some tactics, some techniques, explore some additional skinny water, maybe spend some time out in the deeper water to see if I can get that figured out a little bit better. And turkey hunting. Yes, I'll be in the turkey woods this spring. I'd like to shoot a big long beard this year. I really, if you look at 2022 from a harvest perspective, I didn't shoot a turkey last year. I didn't shoot a bear last year. I didn't shoot a deer last year. But I don't look at last year as being a failure because I was out there and I had a lot of fun. But the goals for this year: shoot a turkey, shoot a bear, shoot a deer. And that's something I will strive for, but to be honest with you, if those things don't happen, yet I get out there and I have some fun working toward those goals, it won't be a bad year, but those are goals. So more time hunting, more time fishing. To be honest, more time on the golf course. My wife Denise and I rekindled our passion for golf. We took about 25 years, at least 20 years off from golf. We started golfing again last year and fell in love with it. I love it. I love the mental aspect of it. I love the physical aspects. We usually walk the course so we can, get a little bit of a workout in, get some steps in. More golf. Purely personal, a goal for this year is to continue to keep the weight off. It's been 4 years now since I had bariatric surgery. And I think I'm doing a pretty good job keeping the weight off. Honestly, a few pounds have crept back. They said that would happen, but I'm doing pretty good. So I want to continue to keep the weight off, continue to walk, maybe even start to run a little bit. I mean, I'll be 65 this year, and the concept of starting to do some jogging is interesting because I hate running so much. Maybe I'll make myself do it as a way to keep the weight off. A big goal for this year, for 2023, I want to continue to promote the outdoors, continue to encourage people, you, your friends, family, to get outdoors, to do some hunting, do some fishing. I want to continue to use the voice that I have to protect our outdoor passions and pursuits in whatever small way that I can. So that's what I'm looking for in 2023. Wonder what your goals are. I mean, for those of us who love the outdoors, right? The goals are we want to spend as much time hunting and fishing as we can. Absolutely. So what else is new? Oh, I got a new truck. I know what you're thinking. Yeah, Avery, 2 weeks ago you told the story about the upper ball joint on your truck coming loose, so you went out and got a new truck. No, the real reason I got a new truck is the old one got dirty. No, that's a joke. No, I lease my trucks for 3 years. And traditionally, at the end of the second year, because I'm a fairly high mileage driver, it's time to get out of the lease and get into a new vehicle because it wouldn't be worth anything at the end of 3 years. So while I was in there, my friends at Garber Chevy, I said, hey, should we look at getting out of this lease and getting into a new one? They said, you know what? Yeah, absolutely it does. The used truck market is still strong, but it's starting to get a little bit soft. They said, let's do that. Let's put you into a new vehicle. So we did, and I got a 2022, not a 23. I got a 2022 ZR2 Chevy Silverado from Garber Chevy. Really a sweet truck. I think I'll put some kind of graphics on it. I'm going to wrap it again, maybe not to the extent that I logoed up the last vehicle. And even though this truck comes with a 2-inch lift, I think I'd like to put bigger tires under it, which might mean bringing that front end up a little bit more. I don't know. I don't want to do it, but I want to put bigger tires on it, so we'll see what happens. Coy wolves. We're going to talk more about the concept of coy wolves at the end of the second hour in the Ask Avery segment. But let me just say right now, let's be very careful, we as outdoorsmen and women and hunters. Let's be very, very careful about how we address the concept of coy wolves. I know PBS and those folks say that there are coy wolves, but let's be careful about that. If we embrace the concept that wolves and coyotes are interbreeding and that there is wolf DNA in coyotes, it'll be the end of predator hunting as we know it, because the antis will jump on that concept and they will shut down coyote hunting, and the Michigan DNR won't be able to stop it. So let's be very, very, very careful in that discussion. We'll talk more about that in the second hour. Coming up after the break, Judy Lynn Black. She is a northern Michigan hardcore outdoors woman, hunter. She has written a new book. Then John Callison, the president of the CMU Bass Fishing Club, and then Tom Campbell of Woods-n-Waternews will wrap up this first hour of Outdoor Magazine. My name is Mike Avery. The website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. The email address, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. We'll take a break. Glad you're with us. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Battle Creek on WBCK. That's 95.3 FM. You can hear us in St. Joe on WSJM 94.9 FM and north of the bridge in Marquette on WDMJ 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination and your mid-Michigan tracker and Angler Quest headquarters. Now, as we are recording the show right now, the marina at Linwood Beach is locked up. Who knows? With this big thaw that we've got being forecast, who knows what's going to happen? But I will tell you this. When there is good ice, if there is good ice, Linwood Beach Marina is a great place, a great spot to jump off for your Saginaw Bay ice fishing adventures. And when it's open water, even better. They've got great facilities, a great launch, great people. I can't say enough about Linwood Beach. Check them out online at linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. Have you ever thought about documenting your hunting and fishing adventures? I have. In fact, I've had people say, Avery, you should write a book. And it's not going to happen. But I really respect and envy people who have the memory and the discipline to sit down and document their life's work of outdoor adventures. Judy Lynn Black has recently done that. She is an avid outdoors woman from northern Michigan, and she's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Judy, welcome to the show. How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing great. Tell us a little bit about you. How you're as hardcore as they come.
Well, the older I get, the more I'm not. But I did not. I've hunted since I was 14 years old, with a rifle. But I did not know what hunting was until my husband bought me a bow, and I hit the ground running. It is a passion of mine. We've traveled extensively. He bought a bow right after I did, or got mine for Christmas, and I decided to journal every hunt, and I did from the moment we left home till the time we pulled back in the driveway. I journaled every hunt, and then when I would come home, I would write a story. I've submitted several to magazines that have been published, and never ever did I think of writing a book. Ever. It just wasn't anything I considered But I had a friend that encouraged and encouraged and encouraged. I'm not writing a book, Jane. She said, you're writing a book. I said, I'm not. And one day she just gave me the shove, and I said, okay, I'll write a book. And I had all the stories. I just needed to put them all together. So that's what I did, and found an amazing editor and a wonderful designer, and it turned out better than I ever expected it to. It is absolutely the perfect book for anyone.
Well, and the book is called Follow Your Arrow, and you followed your arrow across the globe.
I have. We've hunted here in Michigan. I've been Saskatchewan, Texas, Wyoming, back to Saskatchewan several times. My moose was in Ontario. We've been to British Columbia a few times, Africa, New Zealand, Newfoundland. And every one of my hunts, it's not just about the hunt. My book is about so much more than hunting. It is about family and friends and making new friends and enjoying the world that surrounds you. I've seen things that I've never imagined to see, but when you stand in the middle of nowhere in British Columbia and a gray owl lands in a tree, it's like, oh my gosh, there's a gray owl, you know. My book will take you on adventures that I've had so many people say, when I read your stories, I feel like I'm sitting right next to you, and that is what I want to hear. I've been blessed, and I want to share.
What did these exotic adventures in Africa and Canada and such, what did they teach you about what we have here in Michigan, or how to enjoy our hunting and outdoors here in Michigan? Did it give you a different perspective?
It did, because there's so much area that you cover in those places, you know, and from here, I can go half a mile to my camp and 200 yards to my deer blind, you know, but it's a lot of walking and driving. Africa was a challenge. It truly was. The shot placement was huge for me, because you shoot on the shoulder, not behind the shoulder.
Yeah, that's a big mindset change, isn't it? I had a real hard time with that.
Yeah, not gonna lie, there were tears. There were tears because you feel like you've made the perfect shot, and you didn't. And I struggled with that, but the people were so good about it. And I want everyone to know that in my book, it is real hunting. I owned every missed shot. I owned every misplaced shot. I owned every follow-up shot. There's no sugarcoating in my book. It is hunting.
It's got to be cool for. Go ahead. Sorry. Well, it's got to be cool. Like I look back at some of my experiences, and I wish I would have documented. I documented them on video to some extent, but I wish I would have taken the time to detail in writing every experience like you've done. That is very cool.
I have journals. I have a bag full of journals, and Scott always says, I feel like you're not even looking around, but he's wrong. And when he read my book, and he's not a reader, he said, I was amazed at the number of things that I'd forgotten. But because you wrote them down, you remembered them. And he said, I'm reading along, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, I forgot that happened. And I go back to those journals. When I was writing my book, Angela, the editor, she'd say, we need to clarify this. And I could go back to my journals, and it was all right there. It's just a wonderful thing. I encourage anybody, and it doesn't even have to be hunting, just the outdoors. If you go snowshoeing, write it down, or fishing. I'm an avid fisher person too, but I don't journal those, but I have lots of pictures. But I encourage anybody that spends any time in the outdoors to write it down, because what a wonderful thing I have to pass down.
Do you see yourself, and now you have a book, do you see yourself as a role model at all? Because you are a woman, do you see yourself as a role model for younger girls or other women in an area that unfortunately traditionally has been looked at as a male-dominated area?
I hope so. In my book, I say if I have encouraged one person to pick up a bow, pick up a rifle, or just go outside, my book is a total success for me. But I have a great niece that the other day I got pictures from her mom, and first her dad sent me a picture. She got a Red Ryder BB gun for Christmas, and she must be 8. And she also got a bow, but it's a toy bow, but that's okay, you know. And her mother said she'll be hunting like Aunt Judy before we know it. And you have no idea how far that lifted me up. That is what it's all about. And I have 3 great nephews that all have gotten BB guns. One just got a pellet gun, and he's been out shooting squirrels. And that is what it's all about. And in my book, I mean, there's nothing in there that cannot be shared with children. A lady just approached me. She bought one for her grandson, and I think he was 8. And I told her, I said, there's nothing in there. If the parents have to sit and read it to them, they will enjoy it. And I have a 13-year-old great nephew that he picked up my book at his grandmother's, and he went home and told his mother, I don't want any other books for Christmas except Aunt Judy's. And she said, well, did you start reading it? He said, I did, and I didn't want to put it down to come home.
Where do we find it, Judy? Where do we get your book?
Well, I have them. You can check out my Facebook page. It's under Judy Lynn Black. And if you message me, I can ship them to you. It's $4.16 extra in the U.S. It's over $20 in Canada. But if you purchase it from me, I have photo bookmarks that I've made that I will put in your book, and I will personalize it to whoever's purchasing it. It's available on Amazon, but it's also available at Artmobile. And I can tell you it's artmobile.com/products/follow your arrow. And they have them right there in the warehouse, and they will ship them. I'm unsure what the shipping is for them. Amazon is $4.50, I know, but I would gladly ship a book, to anyone that wants to get one.
I just think it's so cool that you documented all these adventures along the way. When you look back, was there a single hunt that impacted you the most?
British Columbia, it was a moose hunt, was probably my hardest hunt. I walked through water. The guide didn't tell me we were crossing a creek, and so I had my Kennetreks on, and I walked across the water, and I sat in wet boots and socks for 13 hours. I climbed up hills. I had bad knees at that time. One of them was really bad, and by the end of the hunt, I was spent. And I got bucked off of a horse there. But I learned so much about myself. And you can push yourself. And when you think you can't go any farther, you dig deeper than you ever thought you could, and you can do it. The Arctic was cold, but British Columbia was the challenge. That was the physical one that was tough.
Well, I'm so glad that you've shared these adventures now in this book, Follow Your Arrow. People can learn more at your Facebook page, Judy Lynn Black on Facebook. And I'm glad we finally had a chance to talk. You and I have been, kind of talking for a few years, and I'm glad we had a chance to talk. And hopefully one of these days we'll get to see each other in person.
Absolutely. I look forward to that, Mike. And thank you so much for letting me share, because I could go on for hours. I just absolutely love to hunt, but I love to share the adventures.
And we're glad you did in the book, Follow Your Arrow. You can find more about the book and Judy on her Facebook page, Judy Lynn Black. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, John Callison, who is the president of the CMU Bass Fishing Club. Did you know we have bass fishing teams at the college level now? Man, if I'd have known this when I was in college, I would I may have had some better habits than what I actually did. And then after that, of course, Tom Campbell of Woods-n-Waternews. And that's coming up yet in this first hour of this week's Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Caro on WKYO 1360 AM and WIDL 92.1 FM. You can hear us in Port Huron on WPHM, that's 1380 AM. And north of the bridge, just go to Escanaba, WCHT 600 AM 95.3 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Rapid River Knives. You know I have a Rapid River knife in my pocket right now, as I always do. I would encourage you to check this company out. Great products, handmade in the UP by craftsmen. Their showroom is on US 2, just east of Rapid River. If you can't make it there, check out the website, rapidriverknifeworks.us, rapidriverknifeworks.us. Folding knives, skinning knives, fillet knives, kitchen knives, hatchets, axes. If it's got a blade on it and you need it, Rapid River can help you out, rapidriverknifeworks.us. I think about my college days. A lot of work, a lot of fun. But I don't think the opportunity was there to fish for my school. I played ultimate frisbee for Ferris. That was kind of fun. But the idea to fish under your college or your university's banner, under their blessing, how cool would that be? I didn't know there was such a thing till a couple of years ago, when the guys over at CMU got in contact with me and said, hey, we have a bass fishing club here. Would you like to help us out? Would you like to sponsor us in some way? And I thought, man, absolutely. If I can promote something like that, I'm all about it. John Callison is the president of the club these days, and he's with us on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Mr. President, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, Mike. It's good to hear from you.
Hey, a real pleasure. Tell me about this whole concept of collegiate bass fishing.
So for collegiate bass fishing, it's all over the country now. It's more common down in the southern U.S., but it's really grown more and more, probably since the early 2000s into like the northern part of the U.S. and it's grown from there, and it's an awesome sport to be a part of, and you can represent your school and fish in all these different tournaments around. Like we fish the ones primarily in the state of Michigan, but you can definitely travel elsewhere and fish in like national tournaments anywhere in the country.
So is it considered a club activity?
Primarily for us, and probably a lot of other schools, it is a club sport, I guess. We are a club team at CMU. Many other schools that we interact with are also club teams. I know that there is some varsity teams and like sports and stuff at some other schools, but I guess it just depends on like the size of the school and like if they're how much they're supporting the program and stuff.
So how much support do you guys get from CMU? Do you get any backing other than just the ability? Yes, you can say they give you the permission to use the CMU bass fishing logo, whatever.
That's basically it. We are allowed to use CMU's name and basically be able to represent them. That's and be able to be a club. That's as much as we get from them. Most schools in Michigan, I believe, are the same. We are 100% self-funded and stuff, so we work hard to try and get sponsors and get like support from different people to like be able to do this, because without support from people like you, Mike, we can't do this. So
will you guys do you hit the show circuit? I mean, will you have a presence at this Ultimate Fishing Show coming up in Novi here shortly?
Yes, we will. We will be there at the Ultimate Fishing Show in Novi, and then the one in Grand Rapids in March.
So how does this work? I mean, you're here in Michigan. Our bass fishing season is fairly short, as of the time that you're in school. Do you fish throughout the entire summer still as the CMU Bass Fishing Club?
Yeah, we fish. Our tournament circuits here in Michigan are primarily during the summer. I think that's because of the school schedule conflicts. we do have the opportunity to send anglers out of state to fish if they choose to do so. But usually there's schedule conflicts there, which is 10 times tougher to do when you have to miss school for because it's hard to make up college classes.
Yeah, well, listen, if you were playing on the varsity football team, I don't think there'd be any problem rescheduling classes. But as the fishing team, I bet you don't get that privilege.
Yeah, we don't, and but it is what it is. I'm hoping to fish maybe a national tournament or two this year because I'm a senior this year and I'll be getting done. So I'm hoping to maybe fish a couple national ones if possible. But we'll just play it by ear. But yeah, we are able to fish, out of state or in state, just primarily during the summer.
I know you've got the Facebook page, CMU Bass Fishing on Facebook. Is there a website too, John, or would you direct people to the Facebook page?
I would direct people to our Facebook page or our Instagram. That's the best way to reach out to us. So, yeah, just message us on there, and we'll get back to you as best we can.
All right, sounds good. We'll see you in Novi. If somebody wants to help support the CMU Bass Fishing Club, go to their Facebook page or the Instagram feed as well. I think it's very cool. I think it's a very cool option, and I didn't realize how big it was until we had a national championship in Bay City last summer, a couple of summers ago. It is a really, really big deal and a cool opportunity. I mean, to do something you love anyway and to do it under the banner of your school, pretty cool. So congrats to John Callison and everybody at the CMU Bass Fishing Club. We'll take a break. When we come back, Tom Campbell of Woods-n-Waternews here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY, 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. You can hear us in Lansing on WILS, 1320 AM. And you can hear us in the Sioux on News Talk 1400 WKNW. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by VersaSkins. Just change your skin for the season you're in. Like right now, I would imagine you're changing your VersaSkins from blaze orange over to white snow camo for predator hunting. And that's the beauty of this whole concept. You can snap on and zip on a different camo pattern outside layer while keeping a good, warm, windproof, waterproof inner suit. And it takes literally about a minute to change those patterns. Check them out online at versaskins.com. That's versaskins.com. While you're online, head over to my website, please, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and then jump over to the website of what I believe is the premier outdoor publication in Michigan, and they have been for many, many years now, Woods-n-Waternews, woods-n-waternews.com. Tom Campbell is one of the guys behind Woods-n-Waternews, and he's with us on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Tom, welcome back. How are you?
Hey, thanks, Mike, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. What's on the agenda? What are the goals for Woods-n-Waternews for 2023?
Keep growing. We need to certainly, get the economy back where it was a few years ago, and we sure, and that's the big thing is, and we want to grow to what our readers want too. I mean, sportsmen that keep expanding, their adventures and likes and business. So it's always a challenge to make sure we try to cover the entire scope of the outdoors, and we only have so many pages. It's tough to do that, but that's our goal. We're going to continue trying to bring, obviously, just like our January, all these great big buck stories. But at the same time, we want to keep everybody excited in there about other things that's going on in the outdoors. Of course, our great ice fishing in the state of Michigan. And we've got other things. We always try to cover things such as we got a great story on the American mink in Michigan in here. Dueling woodpeckers. We always try to cover some nature things, and so it's a constant battle, but we try to continue on, and we listen to our readers, and hopefully through January when we're at the shows and we see new readers and hopefully pick up new readers, they'll give us their input too. And so that's kind of the goal, is to continue on what we've been doing, what we do well, and diversify a little bit more and spread out and try to get those niches too.
Well, and speaking of that, diversifying, I was going to ask you if the story content and the way you cover stories has changed or evolved since you guys started so many years ago.
Oh, it sure has. Yeah, we're much more. I guess a good word would be gentle with the harvesting of deer, and as you know, things have changed drastically in the last 40 years of how we describe hunting adventures, especially, with the killing and all that. So that sure has changed, and we certainly, look for a positive way of addressing those things. So you don't see a lot of graphic things about bullets and entering and that kind of thing. So yeah, that has changed. There's no doubt about it. But it doesn't change the story. And we still get great stories and you still get the great details. So.
And you mentioned the show season. You guys will be at the Ultimate Fishing Show in Novi, I'm sure.
We sure will. We'll be there. We'll be giving discounts on subscriptions, and hopefully we generally meet a lot of people, and they bring a lot of trophy pages to us, a lot of potential stories and things. It's a great one-on-one chance to see us. It's usually myself and Randy, the guys that are here. You don't get somebody else at the shows. We're usually right down there, so you get to talk to us face to face, and it's always great to do that. We do enjoy it, although it's 10 hours on cement floor inside a building is not the greatest idea, but we do it.
Well, and it's interesting to know it's usually not some college intern staffing the Woods and Water booth. It's you guys, the top two, the guys who run the thing, the guys who run the operation.
Exactly right. Yep, yeah. You got it, Mike. Yeah. We've done it from the start, and it's worked for us. And like I said before, we're going to continue doing it until. Till that retirement day comes down the road sometime.
Well, and I don't, I have this inner conversation, this conflict with myself too. It's like, okay, the outdoors has always been strong here in Michigan. It continues to be strong. Of course, trends do change a little bit, but I would hope and pray that there will always be a market for hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping of some kind here in this great state of Michigan.
I agree with you 100%. I do too. And I think there will be. I think there always will be. When you hear, in fact, in the January issue, we got a nice piece about some licenses, actually sales of licenses going up in Michigan. Some of it was out of state people. So, that's great to hear. And we don't mind sharing with some out-of-state people. We don't want to share too much.
All right, Tom.
So, those trends are always positive to hear. And like you said, I think there's always in Michigan going to be that heritage, that tradition. And I don't think we'll lose that for a long, long, long time.
Excellent, Tom. Look forward to talking to you soon. Tom Campbell of Woods-n-Waternews, the website woods-n-waternews.com. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back in our second hour, we're heading to St. Joe. Captain Jerry Link of Originator Charters is on the water with clients. We're going to try to talk to him and more in hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polarcraft Boats, the Forward Corporation, Primal Tree Stands, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, Brenton USA Hunting Rifles, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. Here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network, on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. Yes, this is first and foremost a radio show. And I make that distinction to set this program apart from the many, many podcasts, outdoor-related podcasts that are out there. I have nothing against podcasting. I love podcasting. But this is one of very few statewide syndicated outdoor radio shows out there. And I think the best way to listen, if you can, is on your local radio station, your local AM or FM station. You get your local news and weather and sports, even your local ads, commercials. Maybe there's a sale or something you want to take advantage of. But if you can't listen on your local radio station, if your local station doesn't carry all 3 hours of the show, or if you live in some part of our state not covered by the broadcast signal, isn't it nice to know that there's a podcast version available as a backup? And you can hear that podcast on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. You can hear it on my Facebook page. You can hear it probably, I think literally, anywhere you can hear a podcast. You can hear the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show, including Audible, LinkedIn, Apple Music, SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher, Odyssey. It's even on YouTube. We put a audio version of the podcast up on YouTube, and people consume that content on YouTube every week. As long as I'm talking about podcasting here, a blatant self-promotion for the podcasts that I produce monthly for several of my advertising partners, including Offshore Tackle, Angler Quest Boats, Polar Craft Boats, and Primal Outdoors. Primal is changing from Primal Tree Stands to Primal Outdoors. And as soon as we're done here in the studio recording this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, we will talk with Bob Ransom of Primal Outdoors about that change in focus, the change in shift, the change in direction, and what that means for you as a hunter. So keep an ear out for that. But regardless of how you are hearing my voice, where you are hearing my voice, or when you are hearing my voice, thank you. I do really appreciate it. Without your support, I wouldn't be able to do this, and I would be very, very sad. So again, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. So what's going on in the outdoors right now? Well, this weather roller coaster we're on, it was so frigid and bitterly cold last weekend. This weekend looks like it's going to be much warmer. So what are you going to be able to do? Are you going to be able to get on the ice? Are you going to be able to get out and do some hunting? Well, I know one place you're probably going to be able to be, and that's on the St. Joe River. Captain Jerry Link of Originator Charters is a veteran charter captain. He's been fishing that part of the state for a long, long time. And we catch him this morning on the river with clients in the boat. So, Cap, I really appreciate your time. How are you?
Great, Mike.
So listen, you got clients with you this morning. Where are they from, Jerry?
Fort Wayne, Indiana. Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Fort Wayne, Indiana. Well, thanks for coming up, guys. We appreciate it. And thanks for sharing Jerry with us for a few minutes here. So, Jerry, what are you fishing for this morning?
Steelhead, Mike.
That's always the case with you, isn't it?
Pretty much on the river. Yep, for sure.
So how are conditions today?
They're actually favorable today. Yesterday afternoon, I spent with another captain breaking ice away at the launch so we could get in for this morning. So this morning is a heat wave compared to yesterday. I think the weather's about 32 degrees. It was 24 yesterday. So,
does temperature affect fishing other than your ability to get to the boat, to get to the boat launch? Do the fish care how cold it is, Jerry?
They really don't. I mean, their metabolism slows way down. You literally got to put the bait right on their nose to get them to bite. But as far as, they're already here. And so I guess the short answer is no.
Tell me about the St. Joe. It's a pretty cool fishery, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Go ahead, guys. Get drop in behind there. The St. Joe River is it's probably still one of what I consider a very good river for steelhead, and it's over 200 miles long. It has over 17 major dams on it, and the average depth is 4 to 7 feet, and of water. Our deepest hole between the Lake Michigan and the dam is 30 foot. So, yeah, it's a lot of water.
Well, it does make it interesting. You see the average depth 4 to 7 feet, which puts you apart from some of the other rivers that actually have shipping channels dredged into them.
Correct. Yeah, on our lower end, we have commercial barge traffic and our commercial shipping, I should say, but that's at the mouth of the lake, you know.
So where do you spend most of your time? Do you fish that lower stretch, or you fish in the upper parts of the river up towards the dam?
No, our lower end is actually frozen. I'm up at Berrien Springs. I'm literally right in front of the dam right now. Just moved up from downriver. I'd say our stretch right now is probably 95% frozen, except up here at the dam because of, there's so much current.
So even in the coldest weather, will that not freeze right there? Can you fish that stretch year-round?
Pretty much, yeah. You can. Like I said, we broke there was just a little bit of ice around our ramp yesterday, so we had to break that up, and so we could get our trailers in and get the boats in. But other than that, from the launch up to the dam was pretty open. A little bit of shelf ice, but nothing too bad.
So if we get this warm spell they're talking about and the melt and the runoff, is that going to affect the fishing? Is it going to cloud the water up? Is it going to raise your water levels?
It's definitely going to raise it, but our water level is so low right now, it'll be a welcome. It'll definitely be welcome because we're about 3 to 4 foot lower than we typically are this time of year. So it's probably be back to normal if it does. And it is supposed to warm up. And we're supposed to get into the 50s, I heard, later this week. So we're looking forward to it.
That is so hard to comprehend, the water level being down that far.
It is, but if you look across the country, it's pretty low everywhere, just precipitation-wise. I mean, the Mississippi was having trouble with the barge traffic and things. So, yeah, it's definitely, we're in that low cycle for sure.
I heard you just a minute ago talking to one of your clients. You were giving him some direction. How are you fishing right now, Jerry?
So right now we're back bouncing spawn, and we've got plugs too that we're running in the water. So.
Spawn and plugs at the same time?
Yep.
Oh, tell me more about that. I would figure those two would be mutually exclusive. It would be one or the other, not both at the same time.
Well, I have a pretty large boat. I have a 26-foot tri-tune, and so I got a pretty wide back deck on it, so I can stick some lines out the side and let the guys fish the spawn down the middle. So I love
the concept of running a big tri-tune in the river like that. It does give you a lot of room, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's got a lot of room. It's the biggest one on the St. Joe, and but it's pretty comfortable.
I've seen pictures of it. Big heated enclosure there. I mean, you guys are fishing in style.
Yeah. The only way to do it when it's cold out.
So what do you got going right now? I can hear you're moving around right now, and that's fine. I like this. But what are you doing right now, Jerry?
What am I doing? I'm setting rods right now as we speak, and these guys are bouncing spawn. So we just moved to a different spot, and we're just putting some plugs out here, and hopefully get a steelhead on here soon.
Have you had anything yet this morning?
We haven't, but it was like I said, it's been so cold, and I think as the day goes on, I think it's going to be more in our favor as that water, hopefully, ice melts a little more out on the sides. And, of course, we got a lot of water coming from Indiana, too, so hopefully it'll raise that water level up and get some fish moving up this way.
Yeah, I would think when it's, cold, basically wintertime fishing like we've got right now, you need that water to come up a couple of degrees in the morning to get things going?
Yeah, that always helps, for sure. That will always help.
I love the fact that you're out there with clients right now. In fact, I think I heard you stripping a line off the drag here a minute ago as you were letting lures out, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Listen, Jerry, I know you're busy, so listen, we're going to take a break here, okay? I'm going to take a break a little bit early. I'm going to give you a few minutes to get things together and get things around, and we'll talk more after the break when we come back, all right?
Sounds good, Mike. All right, thanks.
All right, we're talking with Captain Jerry Lynk of Originator Charters. He's on the St. Joe this morning. His website is originatorcharters.com. That's originatorcharters.com. I've had Jerry on the Offshore Tackle podcast before. We've had him here on the Outdoor Magazine radio show before as well. I think the St. Joe is a very interesting fishery. I have had the chance to fish down there a few times with some buddies of mine, and it's a pretty cool fishery. We were after steelhead there in the river. We also jumped out in the big lake and chased coho out there on Lake Michigan as well. The one thing I have not done on the St. Joe is fish for walleye. I think it would be a real good walleye river. Maybe after the break when we come back, I'll ask Jerry about that as well to see if they occasionally run into big walleye there while they're looking for steelhead, or is there a fishable population that you can target them? If I remember right in the past, I've had Mark Martin on the show as he was on the St. Joe, and they were targeting walleye, and you can figure that, when a guy like that is on a fishery like that, he's going to find some fish. So we will take a break. When we come back, we will wrap up our conversation with Captain Jerry Lynk of Originator Charters. Again, his website, originatorcharters.com. I hope to be checking in with Nick Green of MUCC, who is out west bird hunting. And our Ask Avery segment this week talks about the concept of coy wolves and why it's something we should not buy into. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Muskegon on WKBZ. That's 1090 AM. You can hear us in Tawas on WIOS, AM and FM, 1460 AM, 106.9 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Manistee on WTIQ, 1450 AM, 95.3 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Boning Archery. Michigan-based Boning has been a leader in the archery industry for, 76 years now. They continue to innovate, come up with new products for bow hunters and target archers. Now, as the bow hunting season is winding down and the indoor archery leagues are starting to fire up, I would suggest you take a look at Boning to help you out with those needs as well. You can find their website online at boning.com. That's BOHNING, boning.com. While you are online, please head on over to originatorcharters.com. Originatorcharters.com, the website of Captain Jerry Lynk. Cap is on the river this morning, the St. Joe River this morning, as we speak on the Outdoor Magazine phone line with clients out of Indiana. Cap, I appreciate you being along with us. Any activity during the break there at all?
No, not yet, but we're still hopeful. We're still got high hopes.
Hey, listen, with what you do, you've always got high hopes.
That's right. That's right. Very optimistic today.
Well, and there's a reason to be, right? You've got a good river, you're on good water, and you got a river full of fish.
Right, exactly.
So these fish that are in there right now, Jerry, are these going to be fish that came up last fall, or are they fresh runs, or is it going to be a mix of?
I think it's a mix of, for the most part. These fish tend to trickle in all winter long and make the river their home for the winter, and then obviously they're going to spawn in the early spring.
So do most of the fish eventually make it up to the dam, or will they spawn somewhere downstream and drop back as well?
I'd say nowadays, the majority of them that do any amount of spawning are the ones they shoot right up to the dam. Yeah, for sure. So we've got a ladder system that will carry them on up the St. Joe all the way to South Bend.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know they could get around the dam there.
Yeah, just the ladder system for the fish. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Do you see any skamania, the
Sure.
fish that was supposed to be real famous? Oh, you do see those?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. A skamania steelhead is typically a summer spawning steelhead, but there are some that get mixed in with our what we consider Michigan steelhead now, or the old Oregon steelhead. But yeah, definitely we do see them from time to time throughout the winter.
How do you know it's a skamania versus a regular steelhead, I'll call it?
A skamania steelhead is a little bit narrower and a little bit longer typically. And typically their back, their fin on the back is typically a little bit beat up from the pens, or I don't know, from the hatchery or something more so than. But yeah, they're just typically a little bit longer, a little bit skinnier than what we consider the Michigan steelhead.
Do you know right away you've got one on? Do they fight differently, or can you not tell till you get them in the net?
It's a little tougher to tell on the river. On the lake, I should say it's a little tougher to tell. But yeah, they're definitely a fighting fish. They tend to give a little bit more fight than a typical steelhead. They like to jump a lot, for sure. Under most conditions, they're tackle busting fish, I'll tell you.
Well, that's what your clients like, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, do you see any walleye in the river there, Jerry?
Yes, yeah, we do have walleye in here. It's not Lake Erie by any means, but there is still some nice walleye in this river for sure.
What's a nice walleye to you? What size we talking?
I mean, I've seen them up there in the 4-pound range in there, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah, so
I'm
sure there's some bigger ones too, but they tend to get caught at night typically, not when people are chartering.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Is it an incidental catch, or do you actually do walleye trips?
I do offer some walleye trips, but if I don't feel that it's a good walleye time, I'll be honest with my customers and tell them. But yeah, they typically hang out in the more of the deeper, slower, water holes where the water's not moving as fast. So
could I book with you? Could I do a walleye and steelhead trip? So I'm fishing walleye part of the day and steelhead the rest of the day, or is it the water so far geographically removed that it would be impractical?
No, it's possible if you hit the right time. It's definitely possible. Typically, guys will go walleye fishing in the morning, real early, and then finish out the day with steelhead.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I want to go back to the fact that you're running spawn and plugs at the same time. I find that really cool. It's like the best of both worlds and two completely different types of bites, I would imagine, right? One much more aggressive than the other?
Exactly. The spawn bite is really light typically, and the plug bite is very aggressive. There's no doubt about it when it gets on a plug if there's a fish or not. It's the rod's typically blowing up, and when you got it in your hand, sometimes you could have a 10, 12-pound steelhead just tapping so lightly like a bluegill, and until he's hooked, you would never realize they had that big a fish.
And by having both types of presentations out there, you kind of got your bases covered. Depending, what the fish want that day, you're giving it to them, regardless of what it is.
Exactly. Yep. That's the name of the game.
So on the plugs, what type of body baits are you running?
Three basically different ones. Probably the most I run anymore are the mag lips, either the 3.0 or the 3.5 version, and also the Hottentots, the smaller or the larger, depending on obviously the height of the water and what you're fishing. Skinnier the water, typically smaller the bait, deeper water, the bigger baits typically.
Good old-fashioned Hottentots. Man, a lot of fish have been caught on those over the years. And
as well, and if we're fishing really slow water, we'll break out the old T4 flatfish too.
Now that's old school right there.
Yeah, oh yeah, with the gang hooks. Yeah.
And I was going to ask you, do your baits have to have rattles? Does flatfish offer a rattle, or do the hooks themselves create the rattle?
No, the mag lips that I run, all of them have a rattle in them. So yeah, they all have rattles in them. The flatfish, I don't believe I have any with a rattle.
Yeah. No. And on the spawn then, you said you're bouncing bottom or running those with floats?
So we do both. I do have floats and I do have, but these guys today, so far right now, we've just been bouncing it with a sinker, with the sinker slides, typical setup for them. And then we'll typically move the boat backwards with the current slowly, so we're kind of pushing the fish back. But I do have some bobbers, and that's the next thing we're going to break out with some beads too. If sometimes they want the beads when it's really cold like this.
So
under a bobber.
Yep, I got you. So again, the spawn thing here. So you're not working your way through those holes by letting out more line. You're actually dropping the boat back.
Yeah, correct.
And you
force the boat back real slowly. So,
and so you're forcing these fish back either through a run or through a hole till they get to the end of it, and they got two choices. They can either slip out of there, swim out of there, or they can hit your baits.
Exactly.
And are you finding them in flats or runs, or more in holes today, Jerry?
This year, this season so far, they've been typically been in the deeper holes because once again, we're dealing with really shallow water for the most part. So most of the fish have been typically in the deep holes, and then, like you said, you're backing them up, and then they're biting. So.
Were your water levels on the big lake that low this summer too?
They were lower than just a couple years ago. We had an all-time. 2 or 3 years ago, it was the highest it's ever been. So yeah, it's definitely been a big fluctuation. So
sounds like you're either letting out your anchor or pulling it in right now.
Exactly, a little boat. Yep, pick it up, let it back. So we're just kind of sliding back with the current right now. Are
you using the chain style anchor?
I use a pyramid style. Some guys do use a chain. I use it's 100 pounds of lead, pyramid style, and it's hooked up to a electric winch there.
Well, with 100 pounds of lead out there, you want to have a winch, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, with the tops on these boats, they tend to be more like a sail. So if you have to have that kind of weight to keep the boat from, the wind pushing the boat downriver, obviously. So
I'm
an open boat, you don't need that. If I was standing outside right now, you could hear the wind whipping and tell the difference. So.
I'm a big fan of pontoons and these big tri-tunes, these big triple tubes, but I'm a guy who runs them more. I think about them running them on the big water. How did you come up with the idea of running one of these things in the river?
Actually, it wasn't new. I mean, guys have been doing it for many years. Some of my friends actually run pontoons or tri-tunes as well, and when I was looking for a river boat, I'd had a smaller river boat, a DV, before this one, and I was moving up because I needed obviously more room for clients and everything. So I came upon this one, and a friend of mine was getting out of the business, and he actually had it up for sale, and just worked out that way. But I was thinking more along the line of like a Carolina skiff originally, but when I was looking at the time, there weren't very many available. There was none available, to be honest, and I had fished on the tri-tunes before, and they're just a really stable platform, really hard to beat as far as the room you can get on them and just comfortable.
Yeah, and so you'll fish the river now right on us through the winter as long as Mother Nature will let you.
Yeah.
Then
I have trips every day this week. Yeah, we'll fish the rest through the weekend. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then also when it gets to be springtime, then you'll move out to the big lake as well.
Correct. I try to be done with the river around the middle of March, unless for some reason the weather won't let us. But and I try to get that lake boat out as soon as possible, and we start catching the coho along the shoreline there immediately. So.
Well, and you do get a good break on the trolling season. Captain Jerry Link, I'm going to let you go, but I'll encourage people to go to your website, originatorcharters.com, originatorcharters.com. From there, you can book a river trip with Cap on the St. Joe River, or you can get out and fish Southern Lake Michigan. As he says, they get a real early jump on the trolling season. I mean, they're out there fishing springtime cohos before a lot of people are even off the ice. So give them a try, give them a look, give them a listen. Jerry Link at Originator Charters, originatorcharters.com. We'll take a break. When we come back, hope to check in with Nick Green of MUCC. And then after that, this week's Ask Avery segment, talking about the concept of coy wolves and why maybe we shouldn't go down that road. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Flint on Sports Extra 1330 WTRX. I've said before, WTRX was the very first affiliate for the Outdoor Magazine radio show. You can also hear the show in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. And you can hear us. Let's see if we can. Oh, yes, we can go north of the bridge to Newberry, WNBY 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by MUCC's On the Ground program. OTG is a program to improve habitat for fish and wildlife across the state. For details, check out the Michigan United Conservation Club's website. That's mucc.org, mucc.org. And if you want to sign up to become an MUCC member for the first time, use the promo code Mike, all caps, M-I-K-E, M-I-K-E, and you can save 25% on what is already a very reasonable rate. I'm a supporter of MUCC. I'm a big fan of MUCC. I'm a member of MUCC because I think they do a really good job. Now, we had hoped to have Nick Green of MUCC with us on, but he's not available. I knew he was going to be out west bird hunting, and he said he thought he could make it, but didn't work out. That's okay. So it gives me a couple of more minutes to talk. In today's world, I think it's very important that we, as outdoor enthusiasts, hunters, anglers, shooters, trappers, that we do get involved in some way in the process of having some sort of a say in what our future holds. Now, that makes a lot of us uncomfortable because we, as outdoors men and women, are oftentimes more loners, more private. We don't tend to get involved. We don't think of ourselves as being politically active. I don't think of myself that way. I think, well, okay, I'll go back to my days in television news when I covered a lot of the activist type people, the activist type groups. And it's not the perception I have of myself, and it's not the type of thing that I want to get involved in. I don't want to pick up a sign and go down to the local county building or go to Lansing and start walking around and protesting. It's not who I want to be. And for many of us, it's not who we want to be. And I'm not saying we have to do that. I think there are probably some times when it becomes necessary for groups of hunters or anglers to do that when you've just absolutely had enough and you want to get somebody's attention in Lansing. You got to do what you got to do. But it's not the type of thing that we routinely want to do. I get that. But we do have to get involved in the process in some way. So if it's not contacting your legislator, which is a good idea, join a group. Join a conservation or a hunting or fishing organization. If for nothing more than giving that organization a few bucks to help fund the agenda that you support. Plus, there is strength in numbers. I know in the case of MUCC, they like to keep their numbers up there because, number one, yes, it helps them raise money, not a lot of money when you see what MUCC charges to become a member. But the more members an organization has, the more clout they have in Lansing, with the legislature, with the DNR, with the governor, whoever it might be. So numbers are important. So we do have to get involved. Plus, in the case of, say, MUCC, I love the way that they're a a ground-up organization. That's not the right term, but I'll explain to you what I mean. In that their policies and their directives are set by the members. They have meetings across the state every year and then a convention every year where they decide what the issues are that they're going to support, what the issues are that they're going to push, and what the issues are that they want to change. So it's easy to sit back and gripe. Oh, I don't like the way things are done. Oh, I don't like the way the DNR is doing this or whatever. It's easy to do that, but what do you accomplish when you do that? When you sit back and just gripe about things and complain about things, but you're not willing to do something to help change that situation or help address that situation, what have you accomplished other than sitting back over a beer or over coffee and complaining about it? You didn't do anything, except maybe vent and make yourself feel a little bit better and frustrate the people around you. But if you get involved in some kind of an organization and you put a few bucks behind them and you help bolster their numbers, in some small way you have helped. And if you want to get more involved, go to your local conservation club or your local gun club and volunteer, become a part of it. Volunteer to be a board member, volunteer to help out. I can tell you firsthand that The volunteer organizations that are the backbone of conservation and hunting and fishing, they're crying for help. And the people who have stepped up and volunteered are getting burnt out. You can only do so much before you just say, I can't do any more. They're looking for help. So whether it's at the state level like MUCC or any other conservation group like that, or at the local level with your local gun club, your local hunting club, put yourself out there. Get up off the couch, go to a meeting, listen to what they have to say, offer to help, offer to volunteer, to keep this whole hunting and fishing tradition alive, to keep it going for future generations. That's what we want, right? We want to be able to pass this down to our kids and grandkids and future generations. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, let's talk about coy wolves. Do they exist? Do they not? And if so, do we want to buy into it? You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on the Twister, 92.1 WTWS. You can hear us in Holland on WHTC, 1450 AM, 99.7 FM. And you can hear us, let's go to Iron Mountain, WMIQ, 1450 AM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by my friends at Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. Now, the way the Ask Avery segment works is this is your chance to get involved in the content of the show. If there's a question you would like to ask me directly, or if there's something you would like me to pass along to the powers that be, whether it's, DNR, MUCC, maybe somebody that I have access to that you can't quite get to, well, let's try that as well. Send me an email to mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. That's mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. That's the best way to get in touch with me with all types of communications, content, questions, and content anyway. But to be honest with you, this week's Ask Avery question did not come from that venue. It came from a post on Facebook. We had a critter wandering around our neighborhood. We've had fox running around there, but this to me looked like a very, very young coyote. So I posted this question, on my Facebook page: is this a fox or is it a coyote? And I was pretty convinced it was a young coyote. But that brought up a bunch of other responses, and eventually somebody says, "Oh, I hope it's not a coy wolf. Coy wolf. They're out there now, and I hope we don't have them in Michigan yet." And ding, 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 ding. This whole concept of coy wolves is very concerning and disturbing to me. Now, I know that PBS and others are out there with these documentaries talking about how there are coy wolves, and wolves and coyotes are interbreeding, creating this species called a coy wolf. There is no biological term or distinction for a critter called a coy wolf. There are coyotes and there are wolves. But the wildlife biologists tell me there is no distinction, there is no category, there is no classification for a coy wolf. Furthermore, my friends who are in the know, friends in the UP and trappers and predator hunters and such, say that coyotes and wolves will not interbreed. They don't live in the same areas. If wolves move in, coyotes will move out, or the wolves will kill the coyotes. I do not doubt, and I'm no biologist here, but just think about this from a pragmatic perspective. I am sure that there is residual wolf DNA in coyotes from the past, from generations before. I mean, it's going to happen, right? But let's not buy into the concept that wolves and coyotes are interbreeding to create a species called a coy wolf. If we do that, in my opinion, it will be the end of predator hunting as we know it. Now, why? Think about this. You've got a group of people out there, the anti-hunters. who are vehemently against any type of hunting, whether it's recreational hunting for food or population/predator control. They don't believe in it. They don't want to do it. And they have been very, very effective in shutting down wolf hunts across the country because the state agencies don't have the gumption, the fortitude, the resources, or whatever to fight it. And the courts, the federal courts, have made further restrictions on it, handcuffing these state agencies and the Michigan DNR. Wolf hunting is very, very hard to get through. It's very hard to get past because of the antis in the courts. So if we buy into this concept and we start openly talking about coy wolves, and we buy into the concept that wolves and coyotes are interbreeding to create a coy wolf species, or if we accept the fact that coyotes have this wolf DNA in them, this opens the door. This opens the door to the anti-hunting groups to come in and say, hold on. We won't allow you to hunt wolves, but if there is this coy wolf out there, we don't want you hunting them either. And furthermore, if there is wolf DNA in these coyotes and creating the species called a coy wolf, well, then you can't hunt them either. We don't want you hunting them either. And when that happens, this is going to create a situation that is going to be an absolute mess. We need to have predator hunting in Michigan. We need to have coyote hunting in Michigan to keep the population under control. When you introduce the concept of coy wolves, interbreeding, and wolf DNA in coyotes, it muddies the water, it opens the door to the anti-hunting groups to put an end to coyote hunting, and they'll do it. They want nothing more than to do something like that. So please, when you talk about coy wolves, keep that in mind. Is this something that you really want to promote? Do you really want to promote the concept that wolves and coyotes are interbreeding, and do you really want to do that to the predator hunting world? I don't. As always, thanks to our friends at Security Credit Union for making the Ask Avery segment possible. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. We'll take a break now for the top of the hour. When we come back, in our final hour, Corky Legue talking about talking about bunnies and beagles, and then we'll wrap it up with Chef Dixie Dave Minar.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polar Craft Boats, the Forward Corporation, Primal Tree Stands, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, Brenton USA Hunting Rifles, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. So glad to have you along with us. Happy New Year to you. 2023. Wow. I heard Pat go, wow. It's like, wow, how does that happen, hey, Pat? Yeah, we just switched over to the new millennia, seems like, but it's been a long time now. Anyway, so glad to have you along with us. And, I'm thinking here, as we get into the new year, what does this mean for your outdoor passions, your outdoor pursuits, your outdoor activities? Well, deer season's pretty much over now, right? Ice fishing, at least in the southern part of the state, looked like it was going to get off to a good start. Now we've got this big thaw coming in. What's that going to do? I don't know. Predator hunting now is huge here in Michigan in the wintertime, especially for the folks who hunt after dark. Really, really cool there. Very, very hardcore group of people. You got, small game, right? I mean, you got squirrel hunting, but is there any bigger outdoor wintertime tradition in Michigan than rabbit hunting with beagles, chasing bunnies with beagles? I don't think so. It's something many of us grew up doing. It's something that is very near and dear to an awful lot of people in our state. But there are very few people in this state who know more about it than Corky Legue. Corky and his family have been involved in raising and training and hunting beagles over rabbits for a long, long time now. And he's with us on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Corky, welcome back. How are you?
How you doing, Mike?
I'm
good
doing.
To hear you.
Yeah, I'm doing great. It's good to hear from you as well, because I know when you and I talk, it means that we're getting into this wintertime season, and we're talking about something that so many people in this state love so much.
You can't beat rabbit hunting. As soon as that snow comes.
And you guys have been doing it for how long now, Corky? I mean, you grew up in this lifestyle and this passion, right?
Yeah, as long as I can remember. My dad was always a rabbit hunter. I'm 59 years old now, Mike, and, I've been doing it pretty much. I went with my dad when I was like 5, 6 years old, just kind of tagging along, and we actually started, you carried a BB gun, and as soon as you were old enough to get to carry a shotgun, it was on.
And you're still doing it today. What's the appeal?
When that snow, when the deer seasons are done, it's just that, that bell starts rattling. It's time to go. And, you look out and you see that nice snow on those logs and along those grass covers, creek bottoms. Oh, that just gets you excited. We're heading out tomorrow. Me and a small group of guys, we get together every year, and we hit all these little hot spots that my friend Paul Jones, he has, and it's just phenomenal.
You mentioned snow, though. I mean, what is the key? Why is snow important, or is it just a sign that it's time to get out in there and do it?
I think it's just a sign because, we've spent hours upon hours, hundreds of hours, running beagles without snow. Just getting them conditioned, trained, so forth, working with pups. And but when that snow comes, it's time to grab the gun. Go have fun. That's what it's all about.
You talk about training these dogs. Do we as humans train these dogs to hunt, or are they born with that knowledge and we just learn to work with it?
It's a little bit of both. They have it, and they're, if they're bred right, they're just going to be strong rabbit hounds. And then you just have to kind of refine them a little bit. They're going to do most of it on their own anyway, but they may have a few bad habits that you have to correct. And the earlier you can start a pup, the better, because then you can stay with them a little closer and kind of maybe help correct them a little bit.
So how early can we get a young dog out there?
Mike, I used to have a 7-acre training pen, and I used to take pups at about 4 months, 3.5, 4 months old, and I would actually start them in that pen and get them going. And by the time they were 4 to 5 months old, they were running as good as the mature dogs for a lot of people.
Is it true, too, that an older dog, a good older dog, will teach a younger dog, too?
Absolutely. Kind of like the same as a good carpenter can teach a young apprentice how things are done right.
And on the flip side, you wouldn't want a young dog running with a dog that maybe had some bad habits, because they could teach the young dog the bad habits, too.
Oh, without a doubt. That's one of the worst crimes there is. And in the beagle world, a lot of people don't understand that. They just think if I have a beagle and you have a beagle that, we should be able to go rabbit hunt. But it's not always the case. Sometimes those bad habits, or, there's different styles of dogs. And just the word beagle has a wide range of their running style, from real slow to extremely fast. So you want to make sure you have a pack that works together.
Well, what would be a bad habit in your eyes in a beagle? What do you not want a dog to do?
Well, some of the worst habits, in my opinion, is if a dog keeps barking when it's not on the track. And that is, in my opinion, one of the worst faults there are, because if there's other dogs down, when a beagle barks in the pack goes to that dog because it's saying it has it. And so when they're running the track and they have a loss, and if one keeps barking around in what's called the check area, the loss, and so he's pulling everybody all over the place, they can't concentrate on finding the track again.
That makes sense. You say a pack. I mean, can you run too many dogs at one time? What's your ideal pack size, your group size? My
favorite for myself is 3 dogs. You get 3 good beagles that work together, and it's amazing. The loss, is just seconds, and they recover and they're going again and moving at a good speed. Now, some of the slower dogs have smaller checks because they're working tighter to the loss, where some of your high-speed dogs may have they go over the end a ways where the rabbit may have turned, and now they got to come back and to the loss area to find it.
Boy, the way you describe this, I mean, these dogs have different personalities, different ways of hunting, different ways of chasing the rabbit. It's pretty interesting.
Oh, yes. And another thing that a lot of people don't realize, too, is 2 of the main characteristics in a beagle is their bark. There is what's called a chop mouth, where it's real choppy and short. And then there's a ball mouth, which is a long coonhound sounding bark. And there's no variation. I mean, there's no real reason other than breeding. And, kind of like we take on characteristics of our parents, so do those beagles. So I prefer a chop mouth, because it keeps their head in the game, their nose more down, where a ball mouth, they throw it up in the air and then they kind of may get off the line a little more.
I can picture exactly what you're describing. I hadn't thought of that before, but
it's kind of silly, but it's one of those things, but the ball mouth dog is great to listen to.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, there's no better sound in the Michigan wintertime outdoors than the sound of a beagle on a rabbit.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm not telling you anything, am I, Corky?
One of these days you got to show up and we'll put together a good hunt for you.
I know it. That does sound like a riot. Are you guys still breeding dogs? Are you still in that business, or you just do it for fun now?
Now, we're getting older, and we don't breed like we used to at all. I have friends that have up to 20 beagles, and but I personally, my old dog died, and I haven't replaced him yet. So for the first time, me and my brother both, and my dad, none of us have a beagle at this moment.
Yeah, but you got friends who have them.
You got it. Like my wife said, it's almost better to make a phone call and go than it is to have them out here in the backyard.
Corky, I've got to take a break. We'll come back and talk more. Is there somewhere we go online? You guys have a website or any group or anything we should follow up on?
The American Rabbit Hound Association, which is the NKC, and the AKC, they both have beagle divisions. And
Excellent.
So does the UKC.
Excellent.
And there's a lot of clubs in Michigan.
All right, we'll look for that. We got to take a break. We're talking beagles and bunnies with Corky Legue. This guy knows it inside and out. He's grown up with these dogs. He's raised these dogs. He's trained these dogs. So we'll talk more about that. It's a wintertime rabbit hunting tradition here in Michigan. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Ludington on News 97.98, 98.7 WLDN. You can hear us just up the road in Manistee on WMLQ 97.7 FM. And you can hear us in Sandusky out in the Thumb on WMIC 660 AM and 95.3 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Reader Landscaping. Reader can take care of your lawn and property because it's your nature and our nurture. Let Reader create an outdoor getaway in your backyard. And you might say, Avery, why are you talking about this now? I mean, it's like it's New Year's. Why are we thinking about outdoor getaways in our backyard? Because now is the time to get in touch with the folks at Reader to schedule work on your project for next spring so you'll be ready for next summer. And in the meantime, if you need a little snow removal done, the folks from Reader can help you out there as well. Check them out online. The website is readerlandscaping.com, readerlandscaping.com. We're talking right now about a wintertime outdoor tradition in our great state of Michigan. Think about it. If you grew up in a hunting family, you probably did this. Maybe you're still doing it. I hope you are. Maybe it's been a few years, like it has been for me. And this is the topic of chasing rabbits with beagles, bunnies and beagles. Man, it is just, there's nothing more to me that says the Michigan outdoors in the wintertime than hearing the sound of beagles chasing rabbits with people behind them with shotguns and smiling and laughing and maybe shooting the rabbits, maybe not, maybe just letting them go by. Corky Legue is a guy who grew up in this lifestyle. He knows probably more about beagles and bunnies than most anybody else in our state. Corky, is it true? Do you have to have a harvest? Do you have to shoot a rabbit on these hunts to have a good time?
Oh, not at all. Not at all. Listening to those dogs run. We used to, me and some of my friends, a lot of times we just start a little fire, set around, and just listen to the dogs run.
And like a coyote or a bear dog or something, I mean, they might take these dogs off in the next section. Will rabbits run closer, and do they always circle back?
Yeah, most generally they do. In the spring, this is what, the closer we get to spring, the breeding season starts, and those, you heard that term March hare?
Yeah.
Well, the rabbits run big because the bucks may come into this woods, but he really lives, a half mile away. So what happens is he'll circle a couple small times here, and then he might just head out, go back home. Mm. And another thing, Mike, is in the closer you get to spring, especially if it's a warmer winter, those does start to, when the breeding season starts, their scent goes way down. And so that same particular rabbit is extremely hard for those dogs to pick up scent.
What are the ideal conditions for a beagle to get good rabbit scent? What is easy for them and what's hard for them?
Well, when it's super cold and blowy, a lot of the times the real cold and dry is harder to, for the dogs to pick up scent. Some of the hounds we found out of the south may not have what we call a snow nose, that really cold Michigan weather. Some of those dogs would struggle a little bit more depending on the bloodline and the breeding. So,
is hunting cottontails versus snowshoes, is it basically the same, or is it a different activity?
Totally different. Those snowshoe hare run big. Basically, they never hole up. Where a cottontail, a lot of times, especially if there's a lot of pressure, maybe from coyotes and fox or hunting pressure, a lot of times you may jump that rabbit and it may run right straight to a hole. Where the snowshoe hare, they run so big that the dogs will go right out of hearing range. You don't even hear them anymore. and you think, oh my gosh, what happened? And then next thing you know, you'll start hearing them coming back. And here they come. And what's neat about snowshoe hare, especially if the snow is deeper, they run almost like runways when they get back into their thickets in their area where they may have started. And there might be 2 or 3 come running at you. It is crazy.
Is it hard for the shorter-legged beagles to keep up with a big, long-legged snowshoe hare?
Yeah, it is. It's harder. Your dogs that are really bred for snowshoe hare, they actually have the nickname harehound, and they're a leg-eared dog, and they are fast. They go, and they run big and hard, and most generally, those are the dogs that were made for that. They've taken the Beagle breed, and like I say, they've adjusted that through selective breeding to have that dog that runs fast and hard and brings that hair back quicker. Then you have the dogs, cottontail dogs in the South are definitely much slower than what those guys are, and they're shorter legged, made for briar patches and stuff like that in the South.
So I guess like any other breed, there are different types of beagles?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And that's why it's so important when a person is considering getting a beagle, know what kind of beagle you would like. Go out to some of these beagle clubs, like the Progressive Pack clubs. They run what I call a kind of right in the middle, medium speed, a dog that hunts well, gets out and jumps the rabbits the way they're supposed to. And AKC has different divisions, so does UKC. And then when you get to see these different types of dogs, hey, that's what I want. I want a beagle like that. So it's real important to go to these clubs and see if that's the kind of dog you want. And different clubs do different style of beagle.
Are beagles a pack animal? By that I mean, could you, as a hunter or just a family, get one beagle, or should you get a couple so they can keep each other company?
Well, like I say, I prefer 3 beagles. It's just always been mine. But, we've put as many as 12 down at one time, and they pack up. And then, but it's okay to have one. And, for years I had Hank, and he was basically my only beagle, but I always said he was an army of one. This dog, it didn't matter. He's going to make it happen. He was just an awesome dog. Great nose, never had issues, and could just find you a rabbit no matter what.
Man, I'm thinking about putting 12 dogs down. You got your hands full then, don't you?
Yeah. Usually what that was is a bunch of us beagle breeder guys or competition guys and rabbit hunt. We'd all bring a couple dogs. There might be 6, 7 of us guys, and we'll all have 1 or 2 dogs that we would throw down. And back in the day, I had as many as 28 at one time.
Wow.
And but I used to do a lot of breeding for people, and my goal was to breed above average dogs consistently to help the beagle breed. And a lot of guys built their kennels off my dogs and the dogs that I brought into the program, so I think it was a success. But those 12 dogs,
man,
it did get really crazy. But see, they all stay together. As soon as one barks, they all come together, and away they go.
Is Michigan known as a hotbed or hotspot or a well-respected place for beagles? Like, I think of some of the southern states as really, where we get our hounds from. Is Michigan considered a beagle state?
I would say yes, but, my bloodlines that I built off from, 2 of the bloodlines, I worked with 3. There was 2 of them here that were based out of Michigan, one out of the northern. They had that huge snow nose. And then I brought dogs from Mississippi up. and they were good dogs, very good dogs. But they all bring something to the table. So you gotta, as a breeder, you really got to know what you're doing so that you don't breathe in weaknesses. So,
how is a beagle as a family pet too?
I think there's better dogs for pets, but I think I mentioned this before. I had an uncle that his dog could go in and out just like every other house dog, but when he grabbed his gun, she knew it was time to go, and she turned into a rabbit dog. It was crazy.
And is the concern on a beagle just being a pet the fact that, hey, it's going to be hard to keep them home?
Yeah, they're a hound. They have a tendency to want to go. They want to get in the woods, kind of like a Labrador wants to hit the water.
Yeah.
If you live on a creek or something, you're probably going to have a muddy house.
You can't fight Mother Nature, right?
Right. It's bred in them. That's what they were built for.
Corky, I always love talking with you about beagles and bunnies and rabbit hunting. Is it still a strong tradition in our state today?
I think it's not as strong as it was when we were younger because, the video games and so forth, the kids, it's pretty exciting life for them. And as we know, they don't get out as much. But my son, a picture showed up on his Facebook reminder of, I think it was 10 years ago. And it was me and my son-in-laws and him rabbit hunting the day before Christmas. And he said, this is one of my favorite memories. So that tells you a lot.
It does. And you've been you and your family, such an important part of this whole history and tradition of beagles and bunnies. I always appreciate your time. Good hunting to you, and we'll talk again.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Take care.
Thank you. Corky Legue, a man who knows more about beagles than, he's forgotten. To use a cliche, he's probably forgotten more about beagles and rabbit hunting than most people will ever know. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, a few more thoughts as we get ready to wrap up this week's show with wild game chef extraordinaire and newly retired chef Dixie Dave Minar right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Traverse City on WTCM 580 AM, and you can hear us downstate in Saginaw, WSGW 790 AM, 100.5 FM. I'm in the studios of WSGW right now. I'm here with Pat Johnston, who is graciously allowed me to share his studio for 3 hours each week. Pat, I do appreciate that. During the break here, I was trying to, this is kind of a geeky inside baseball thing, but somebody sent me a link on how to actually do my Facebook, or my live streaming, my Wednesday Night Live and my Behind the Mic Wednesday mornings, and get them on Instagram as well. Something I have not been able to do yet. I will continue to work on that. I'm trying to find as many ways as possible to reach people, and in today's world, social media is one part of that. I mean, my background is as a broadcaster, right? I started out in television, broadcast television, and then now radio. But you can't ignore podcasting. You can't ignore social media. And so I do continue to search for ways to reach people on all those venues without getting too crazy. Like I looked at TikTok. It's like, I can't do it. Can't make myself do it. Nope, can't do it. And it's interesting, talking with Corky Legue and some of the other guests on the show this week, when you talk about, again, this history and tradition of the outdoor lifestyle, hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping, it's kind of a dichotomy for me because I look at the old school subjects and things I grew up doing and things I have a passion for, and then I look at how to tell those stories and reach people and talk about those old subjects in the newest ways, using the newest technology. So I find myself sometimes with one foot in both worlds, and it's it's kind of fun. It's kind of interesting. Hey, Happy New Year to you. My wish for you and your family in 2023 is to be happy and healthy and get outdoors as much as you can. I mean, that's a goal for me. I don't have resolutions, because resolutions I think are made to be broken, but I do have some goals for this new year. Number one, I want to shoot a bear this year. Didn't shoot a bear last year. I want to shoot a Michigan deer this year. Didn't shoot a Michigan deer last year. Haven't shot a deer, a whitetail, in many, many years. I had hoped to do it this year, meaning 2022, just wasn't able to. I mean, I know. How big of a loser do I have to be that I couldn't even shoot a doe? I will accept that. I get it. I didn't have an adult doe walk in front of me the whole season, let alone a buck. But so that's a goal for 2023. In general, I want to make more time to hunt and fish. You know, it's much easier for me than it is for most people, because my job involves hunting and fishing, and I have a somewhat of a flexible schedule, and I can take time away from the office to go out and do hunting or fishing and still legitimately consider it work time, because it gives me content to post on social media, and it gives me topics and subjects and stories to talk about here on the radio show. So, but even I want to make as much time to hunt and fish. I want to spend as much time next summer out on the Angler Quest on Saginaw Bay as possible, explore some new waters, some new techniques, some new tactics. Also, for 2023, I want to play more golf. My wife Denise and I have really fallen back in love with golf. Neither one of us pretend to be good, but we sure do enjoy it. So I want to spend more time playing golf. I want to continue to do what I can to promote this outdoor lifestyle. As Corky Legue in that previous segment was talking about, you know, things change. Things have changed in the world. Things have changed here in Michigan. And even though the outdoors, you know, Michigan is still a very strong state for hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping, in my opinion, the best state in the country for this. Numbers continue to go down a little bit. People have different interests. People are busy at work. They're busy with family. They're busy running kids around. There's less time to do these things. However, we have such a strong tradition of this outdoor lifestyle in this state. I believe we can't let it go. We can't just sit back and watch technology, which again, I'm such a tech geek, but I don't want to see technology get in the way of getting kids involved in the outdoors. So I don't know, it's kind of I want to do what I can to continue to promote the outdoors, the outdoor lifestyle, hunting and fishing and trapping. If you want to get in touch with me, my email address is mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Don't hesitate to reach out. Send me your pictures, your comments, your questions, your criticism, your Ask Avery questions. Send them to me at mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. The website is mikeaveryoutdoors.com. It's a decent website. It's an okay website, but it's time to refresh it. So maybe that should be a goal for this year. I'll tell you what, I don't feel strongly enough about updating the website that I would make that a goal over getting out and hunting and fishing more. So that tells you where it is it's on the back burner. It's not on the front burner. But check it out, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Again, my email address is Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I hope you can join me every week for my live streams. I do a Behind the Mic segment from the radio studio every Wednesday morning at 8:45 on many of my social media outlets. And then Wednesday nights, I do a Wednesday night live. That's at 7 o'clock. That's on all of my social media outlets. Again, except for Instagram. Trying to figure out a way to go live to Instagram at the same time without using a second device. If you're a social media expert, and I firmly believe there are no social media experts because it changes so fast. But if you are, and you know how to do it, send me an email, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Dixie Dave coming up after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. My name is Mike Avery. I sure appreciate you being along with us. That means a lot to me. And if you've been with us at all before, you know I love to wrap up each week's show with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. And there was a big question when it was announced that Dave was going to retire and close down Oscar and Joey's Roadhouse there in Birch Run, whether he would continue to be along with us. And I told Dave, I said, you've got an open invitation here as long as you want. And he said, absolutely, he wants to do it. So he's back with us now on the phone line. Dave, as we are recording this show, we're getting ready to go into the New Year weekend. If people are listening on Saturday, you're still open Saturday night, but when it comes to Sunday, January 1st, you're done, right? The doors are closed?
I know it. People, if they're going to want to come for one last meal, they better get there Thursday, Friday, or Saturday.
Oh, David, it's got to be a relief.
I don't know. One day I'm happy, the next day I'm sad, and then we keep getting these emails with people with them emojis with tears in their eyes, and
yeah,
crazy.
You got to do what's right for you and Terry. I'm happy for you, and I know you do have a recipe for us this week, eh?
I do. I've been hearing steelhead are doing pretty good over on the west side of the state. What have you heard?
Yeah, in fact, we had Captain Jerry Link of Originator Charters out of St. Joe was on with us earlier in the show. He was on the river. They didn't have any fish yet, but I'm sure they're going to catch some. So, yeah, that's what I've been hearing too, Dave.
Good. So, anyway, we sell this recipe at the restaurant with salmon. So it's like a baked salmon with dill. So we're going to use steelhead because it's such a popular dish. So figured, and we'll have this for New Year's Eve also. So this is for 4 portions. You need about 4 8 to 10 ounce boneless, skinless fillets, a couple beaten up eggs, the juice of a lemon. And you could use fresh dill or you could use the dried dill weed. And fresh dill, you're going to chop it up to equal to about a half a teaspoon for 4 people. And the dried dill, you're going to use less than a quarter because you don't want to overpower this. You just want to embellish the nice, mild flavor of a steelhead. Anywhere from 2 to 4 cloves of garlic chopped up real fine, 1/2 a bunch of green onions sliced real thin. You're going to top each one of the pieces of fish with this after it goes on the plate. Medium onion to small onion diced up real fine. And 1/2 a jar of chicken gravy, olive oil to saute, a couple of tablespoons of sour cream, and flour. So you're going to dredge the fish in flour. And then in this beaten up eggs, make sure the eggs are beaten up real good so that you don't have any of the clear that's not mixed in with the yolk, because what happens, it'll just slide right off the fish after you go to cook it. So in a very hot pan with a small amount of oil, brown fish on both sides. Remove that to a warm plate, or if you got a pan big enough to hold this, you could make this right in the pan or put it in a casserole and bake it in the oven at 350 degrees for a few minutes. So you want to add the onions, saute that garlic up a little bit for just a couple minutes and kind of stir it gently. And then you want to add the lemon and the dill, the gravy, the white wine, and simmer for a few minutes, kind of get that already starting to reduce. And so if you're in the oven with this, all you're going to do is mix all of this up, top the fish. And if you're going to do it in a pan on the stove, say for 2, then you're just going to make this in there and throw it in the oven for, maybe 8-10 minutes tops, because it's already going to start to be cooked real good, 350 degrees. Remove the fish to a serving plate. And then, if you wanted to, you could blend in the sour cream, but I suggest you put a little, like a 1/2 teaspoon or so, or a teaspoon right on the top. Sprinkle some of the sliced up chives or green onions, and I would say serve this with a ring of rice. So you've got all of that good sauce to go with the rice, and it's just, to me, it's a killer dish, and people really love it because we're selling an awful lot of it.
Oh, it sounds wonderful. And a reminder, if folks are listening Saturday, they can still get to the restaurant Saturday night, New Year's Eve. Come Sunday, you've missed the opportunity. But, Dave, there will be opportunities to try your cooking. Like, for example, our big Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner coming up Saturday, March 4th. You're going to cater that. So it's not like you're dropping out of sight here.
No, and I will do churches and organizations that have a kitchen that I have access to, because out of my catering trailer, I can do about 200 dinners real easy with no problem. But if they're any bigger, like the 350s and stuff that a lot of these churches and organizations do, I'll need one of their kitchens. Or if they could rent a kitchen from a church or somebody, that would work out too. So
all right.
keep us in mind for you. You know, we're not falling off the face of the earth.
All right, David. And listen, as our Trinity dinner gets closer, we will talk more about that. But as always, appreciate your time. Happy New Year to you and Terry, and we'll talk again next week.
Call me off air.
All right, sounds good. Wild Game Chef Extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar, a big part of the Outdoor Magazine show, as are you, because if you weren't listening, there'd be no reason to do this. And, you know, I just, what would I do with my time? All right, Happy New Year to you and your family. Be safe, have fun. I have wishes for blessings, prosperity, and good health for you and your family throughout 2023, and the opportunity to get outdoors and have some fun. My name is Mike Avery. The website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. The email address, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Don't hesitate to reach out. Let me know what's on your mind, what you're thinking. And I will talk with you next time right here on Outdoor Magazine.